Hey guys, it is Friday, May 15th, the Ides of May. 2 months to the day when I started my coronavirus daily updates, which have become less daily as time goes on. And it's about 30 seconds to 5 o'clock, so curfew is going to start any minute. Just feel a few drops of rain right now. It has been raining off and on. Mostly off, but every once in a while for the last week or two. So it's getting a little bit wetter here in Khamis, as it does in the summertime. And it's time to go over the coronavirus update in Saudi Arabia. There will only be 2 more episodes left in this series, episode 49 and 50. So we're coming to an end, and thank you all for watching. So Saudi Arabia had a record number of infections and a record number of recoveries today, the good and the bad. No ugly here. So we had 2,307 new cases today, bringing Saudi Arabia's total case count up to 49,176. We're going to be hitting 50,000 cases almost guaranteed tomorrow. So that's not good. But the total recoveries today went up by 2,818, bringing us there to a total of 21,869. So a change in that today there are 511 more recoveries than there were new infections, according to the official figures. And that's great news because it shows that Saudi Arabia is defeating this virus, according to the official figures. I don't know how many people in the kingdom might be, they have the virus but not have been tested, and so forth. The world has 4,445,000 total cases, so we'll probably be hitting 4.5 million worldwide tomorrow. About a third of those cases are in my home country of the United States. Whoop. Just broke this little light by leaning on it. Oops. Sorry about that. And we have 292 deaths in the kingdom as well. Of these 2,307 new cases, 444 are in Jeddah, 443 in Mecca, 419 in Riyadh, 152 in Medina, 148 in Dammam, 128 in Hafuf, 66 in Diriyah, 62 in Tabuk, that's near Jordan, 41 in Taif, 18 here in Khamis Mushait, which I think is our second place record day for the most new cases in Khamis. Could be wrong, but I think it's the second most. And there's 1 new case in Abha, which is the capital of Aseer province, not too far from Khamis, where I am. All right, let's talk about some of the news. First story, it's a few days old now, because I didn't make an episode for the last 2 days. But starting on the end of Ramadan, Eid al-Fitr, on May 23rd, running until May 27th, there is going to be a 24-hour lockdown all around the kingdom. Every city, town, region in Saudi Arabia is going to have a 24-hour quarantine, lockdown, whatever you want to call it. And that's the first time that's been done across the whole kingdom. Lots of cities and regions have been given these quarantines before in the past, but because of, I don't know if it's because of Ramadan, but during Ramadan, almost all of the cities and towns in Saudi have been given a 9 to 5 curfew. You can be outside from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. It's a little bit past 5 now. Oh, I hear some thunder. Anyway, so this could be the sort of the death blow to the virus that hopefully will really put the numbers down going forward. Now, we're not sure about this. Nobody knows, of course. And Still, they haven't decided on whether or not the Hajj will be canceled this year. I think it will, or at least restricted to people out, only inside the kingdom can do it. So we'll see what happens exactly with that. But for 5 days, there will be a 24-hour curfew, which I think is pretty serious, and it sort of set the hard deadline for when I should be out of here. Today is May 15th, so my contract is officially over. It ended yesterday on May 14th. So what am I doing here? Well, I'm just waiting for an evacuation flight. There were 6 flights announced a couple days ago, 4 from Jeddah and 2 from Riyadh. And I'm happy to say that I did buy a ticket, and I will hopefully be flying out of Saudi Arabia sometime next week. And you'll find out about that when I leave in my last episode. Can you hear that thunder? You can see it, some rain's coming down in the distance. Well, in any case, it's going to be an expensive flight back to the United States, and then another flight to Boston before I am officially home safely, and then I'll stop making these videos. So that's great news for me. I just keep hearing a lot of things. Anyway, also a bunch of Saudis have recently flown home from Sydney, Australia, so that's great news for them. They've been repatriated. I will be repatriated soon, hopefully. The problem is that this curfew, the travel system, the travel permit system, I've had all sorts of problems with it. Some of my colleagues who have already left the province have had problems with it. I'm not sure anyone that I know of has successfully used this permit request system to get a permit that allows them to travel between provinces successfully, which is kind of frustrating because I only have a letter from the consulate in Arabic and English telling the border guards or the police or whoever stops us that I'm going to be flying out on one of these flights. So I hope that's going to be enough. My driver will have hopefully an official travel permit as well. I'm going to be traveling up to Jeddah with one of my other colleagues, so 2 of us plus the driver, and then we're going to fly out of here, hopefully, if we can get up there safely. And last story today, Saudi Arabia, I'm not sure when exactly they did this, but they were recently thanked for a pledge of 500 million, it doesn't say the currency, I assume it's US dollars, but I'm not sure, to help make a coronavirus vaccine. And they did this alongside a bunch of other countries, mostly in Europe, also including United States, Canada, and Japan. Did not include China, at least not according to this article I read. And those countries have so far pledged to give a total of 7.4 billion euros. So maybe it's 500 million euros instead of dollars, but it had the dollar sign, so I don't know. Anyway, so that's a very lot of money for people to, fund these researches to get the vaccine. But I think we have to ask ourselves, seriously, what is our lives? Will our lives look like? What will your life look like? What will my life look like if a vaccine never comes? They say the vaccine is at least 12, 18 months away. They've been saying that for a while. I don't really know if that's... Nobody knows, and that's the uncertainty that is really getting at a lot of people. But I think we should seriously consider the possibility that we never get a vaccine, and that this becomes the new normal. And what is it going to mean for the world when we have to live in a world where there are millions or tens of millions or more cases of COVID-19 out there, and it just becomes an accepted part of life? How are we going to live? What kind of businesses are going to be available? How is this going to make us rethink all sorts of issues in bioethics and government? So there's a lot of things that we have to be thinking about. I'm sure that if you're like me, I'm talking about coronavirus not just on these videos, but with all sorts of friends and family for more than an hour every day, probably, on reading about it and posting about it, commenting on it, processing information, essentially. And you know, it's the defining issue. It's going to be the defining issue of the 2020s, the whole decade, I think. And we're going to live in the shadow of COVID-19 for a very long time. And how dark that shade is going to be determined by our actions and how seriously we treat this virus. So I hope you're all well back home or wherever it is that you're watching this video. Stay home, guys. Wash your hands. Get lots of rest. Stay safe. And good luck out there.